charity live stream event supporting the fight against COVID-19. Make sure you guys check us on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, it's at COV_AID, and Facebook, it is COV-AID. Now, before we continue on with the fun gameplay and the fun time, we must take the time to hear from John Smoltz. And Joshua Gray is going to be discussing what John Smoltz has been up to since quarantine, and he's going to take it away from here.
Hello, everyone. I am joined by John Smoltz, number 29. He played for 22 seasons in Major League Baseball, all but the last year he was with the Atlanta Braves. And I'd be totally wearing a Braves hat, but I got my Mariners hat on. John, it's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure. Thanks.
So first of all, what are you doing with all of your time now that we don't have a baseball season this year?
Yeah, well, that's been an interesting challenge, only because you start thinking like every day might be Saturday, where I'm used to being gone my entire career, my entire life. I haven't had an April off. I've either been playing baseball or broadcasting baseball. So being at home in April doesn't seem normal. And luckily for me and my family that's all located here in Georgia, is we've got a big property. We can get outside and I can do a lot of projects that I've started, but not a lot of projects that I've finished. And it just seems weird that I'm not preparing for baseball at this point. There's nothing to prepare for, so there's nothing to get ahead of. And I'm anticipating what news might be coming as far as when we're going to start baseball, because then that means I resume my job. But it has been, for me, it's been get outside as much as possible. I'll cut some grass, I'll hit some golf balls, and I'm taking advantage of the great weather we have right now.
We definitely have that in common, moving on to projects that we keep starting but don't finish. I've accomplished a few. But when it comes to baseball itself, are there any specific projects or something this season you were looking forward to the most that you continue to look forward to into the next year or the next season?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is watching the adaptation of these great players. How do they adapt, from year to year? Because baseball is a game of cat and mouse, of figuring out something. A pitcher figures out something, and then the hitter has to adjust, or vice versa. And I'm always looking to see which player goes that next level. Coming off a huge year, what's their expectation? What's their level of trying to repeat? So the athletes have been incredible, but being able to adapt will keep somebody in the league for a long time. Fortunately for me, that's what allowed me to play for 22 years, is I had to continually evolve and not let anybody get settled in on what my routine was going to be. I was always looking to try and change up my strategy, if you will. So as a broadcaster, I'm looking for those things. I'm looking for which teams certainly have put themselves in the best position to win a championship, and trying to break down for the viewer how that season or how this team is going to go about their quest to win a championship.
And there's always that pressure on these players to bring the best that they have to the table every single game. And that starts with spring training, or even before then. It starts with the mentality and how to put the structure together to maximize the team's potential. I want to wind the clock back a little bit to what you were quoted as saying as probably the most intense pressure you felt in a postseason experience. And that was in 1991. And I believe you were pitching or starting for the first time, Game 7 on the road, trying to get to that World Series. If you can think about that level of pressure at that time, have you had any instances that have been more pressure, or has that just been kind of one of the biggest highlights in terms of the amount of pressure on your shoulders and how well you were able to perform?
Yeah, for that was something I was always preparing my whole life to do. As a kid, I was putting myself in that situation against a brick wall and a rubber ball, and I really emulated every scenario that I could think of that I would be ready for if I ever got that chance. So baseball and my preparation was prepared to do that Game 7. There's a lot of pressure because Game 7s is everything, but I think the most pressure I've ever faced was qualifying for the U.S. Senior Open and playing with guys that I've watched on TV my whole life, and teeing it up for the first time in an open tournament. I cannot believe how much pressure that was. And I really believe anytime you go through something in life, it's going to be, the first time is going to be something met with, that queasy feeling, that cotton mouth. I mean, if you're out of your element, you're out of your comfort zone, you create two scenarios. You run from it or you grow from it. And growing from that allows you to become better. And so after teeing it up and not making the cut and having some humiliating scores, I was able to learn a lot about my golf game. And that really taught me a lot. Pressure is something I'm motivated by. It's not going to define me with the outcome. The outcome is going to make me better. And I usually learn more from losing and hard lessons than I do from winning and success. And so that really propelled me from my baseball career to be as patient in the moment and to be as slow as I can with the game and the atmosphere and the adrenaline all speeding up. That's a tough challenge and task to take on for a lot of athletes because they all want to deliver, but sometimes they try so hard to deliver, they just manufacture more mistakes and they do it quicker.
Every single one of these principles applies not just to baseball, but it also applies to professional gaming, especially in fighting games. I'm a huge fighting game fan. And after playing baseball for 14 years, being in that batter's box, when you have to decide to swing at a fastball going over 90 miles an hour, a little bit slower back in my day, it wasn't all the way up to your guys' level, and you have to decide to swing or not, that type of decision making in that fraction of a second is what fighting players have to do. Every single move. Is my opponent going to go for a high, a low, an overhead, a mid? And in a game like Super Smash Brothers, each of these characters have a lot of different tools or variables that they have to watch out for. It may seem like a completely foreign world to somebody from baseball or golf to see these characters just kind of go crazy on the screen. But those principles, those fundamentals, in particular patience, knowing when not to press a button, is super key and really is the dividing line between the amateurs and the professionals. So that's my gaming take on that. But I love to bring the concept of baseball because it's the only game that shows the errors on the screen when teams mess up. And within that art of perfection, so many people love that in the world of gaming. And so for you, John, I've watched your career not just as a player, but also as a broadcaster, as a commentator. But how did you get involved in this event?
Well, I got involved because my son has been passionate about gaming ever since I can remember it starting, the evolution of it. And he always told me this was going to be the next greatest wave that was going to take over outside of sports. And it's something that, I have learned from him because he's been keyed in on it. And then this charity component became something that's right up my alley when he told me about the idea. And, any way that you can contribute and any way that you can do something for a cause is awesome. And I've been doing that my whole life. I've been raised that way. I try to pass that on to my kids. And so from, this event that will benefit the Boys and Girls Club and AmeriCare, it's going to be something that, this is something I'm going to do my small part. And his ambition and desire in this event is really kind of leaked into me even being part of this in a small fraction. And that's really kind of, as a baseball player and a celebrity, sometimes you are able to bring about a cause and attention to a cause even greater just because of your name. And that's a weird place for me to think that my life would have that kind of impact and that jersey number or wherever I end up in the end of my career. But that's been a pretty cool opportunity that I try not to miss out on.
Well, number 29 has a great impact on a lot of people, not just in Georgia, but for all baseball fans and for anybody that respects the art of being a pitcher and how difficult that is. I pitched a no-hitter once in a high school league, and I remember how amazing that felt because I was a closer, and then I started the next game, and I couldn't hit strikes. I was like, what happened? But that insane amount of pressure and the ability to perform is tough, but you have that whole team behind you to back you up as well. I'm going to get one more piece of advice from you before we reveal the 2 items that you're donating to this cause. But you mentioned patience in baseball, patience in golf. We got to have patience in Warzone and other games that we're going to see here during this charity. But if you could give any advice on anybody, be it a baseball player, somebody who loves golf or loves to play video games, how can they be better at being patient?
Well, it comes through trial and error because I was not a very patient person all the way up to this point. I'm still working on it. And golf has really helped me learn the patience of manufacturing your feelings. Because really in sports, the only thing that people are going to read off of you is what you give them. And if you're scared inside but don't reveal that outside, then that's a great trait to learn because you don't want to give them an edge. As a pitcher, when you stand on the mound and the batter stands in the box, one of you has the edge. The key is to not reveal what that is. I mean, you know that you either have it against the hitter or he has it against you. Learning how to be patient through those moments is something that I had to learn through, again, trial and error and failure, because I want to get the ball and go. For the longest time, I wanted to create tempo. I wanted to go. I didn't want to wait. And then learning how to do that and learning your own personalities, because not every personality is meant for XYZ, but you can learn to become better at that. And as a golfer, when you're waiting on your playing partners or you're waiting on in a tournament, just sitting there thinking about thoughts, there's a couple things you can do with them. They can be positive or negative. And sometimes I had to learn how to flush out the negative thoughts and create a positive environment for me so that I was constantly in a place to have success. But I don't think there's one way to just be patient. I think you have to learn how, from your mistakes, what you felt like and what that moment was like, and then try to figure out different ways, patterns, or habits to get you to a point so that you're not as anxious or as jumpy, because to have those components in any sport, hand-eye coordination scenario, is going to have a negative effect. And that is one thing about being in the zone, they say, when everything feels right. You're doing slow motion stuff where everybody feels like it's going fast. When you're in a slow motion state, that means you're in a zone, and that's a good place to be as an athlete or anybody that's trying to compete at a high level where concentration and hand-eye coordination are, imperative.
It's a flow, and you can feel it. And when you're in it, there's nothing else like it. Finally, John, you're going to be donating 2 autographed gloves to this cause, to this charity. First of all, thank you. And can you tell us anything more about these gloves?
Yeah, these are the gloves the model I would use. They're brand new, and they would be the gloves that I would break in, but I haven't broke in because I'm utilizing them now as a unique gift, because everyone's trying to find something unique. You could donate a jersey and certain things that are more visible, but this is unique where there's not a lot of gloves out there. And what I'll do is I'll sign all my stats on the glove on the outside, and it'll be the Hall of Fame year, strikeouts, and Cy Young, and all the different things that are typically define my career. But know that it's actually the glove that I would use in competition. Over 22 years, I think I went through somewhere in the neighborhood of only 5 gloves, because as a pitcher, unlike an infielder, you're only utilizing that once every 5 days. And so this was a way when I retired to order a bunch of A2000s Wilson glove, and then when special things come around, have a unique way to give that to somebody for a great cause. And I think it'd be pretty unique for anybody who's able to be the highest bidder or get a chance to win one of these.
All right, John Smoltz, number 29, Marmaduke, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your time and for your efforts, and we look forward to watching more of your broadcasts and more of your efforts in the future. Hopefully we'll have a baseball season next year.
Yeah, I agree. And everyone be safe and do your part in this unusual time that we're in. And we're going to get on the other side of it soon.
And for all of you watching at home, you can donate right now for these autographed gloves. They are 2 items, unique prizes. We got once-in-a-lifetime experiences every 15 minutes. Right now, we have 2 winners that we're going to award these gloves to. The highest bidder and a random bidder, or highest donor and a random donor, highest donor and random donor. So put in those donations right now. And again, John Smoltz, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Joshua, thank you so much. And John Smoltz, thank you so much. I can't believe you've only been through 5 gloves in your career. And also that's a huge prize. So thank you so much for putting all of this together and donating as much of your time and items to COV-AID. Guys, right now, we're going to throw to a 3-minute break. But when we come back, we've got more for you for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.